Hey, I'm Quincy and I'm a radio personality, but just like you, I'm always wanting to make better health choices for myself and of course for my family. Now that's why I've teamed up with my friend Dr. Dean Tindall and the fine folks of New Life Naturopathic, the creators of new-lifeweightloss.com, to bring you a podcast focused on giving you the information you need to make the best health decisions for you and your family. Now, that's going to be without sway from what mainstream medicine has become. Now, this podcast, Pursuit of New Life, we're going to release one each Friday. And we're going to focus on debunking the mainstream medicine myths now associated with naturopathic, holistic medicine, while giving you clear insight into ways you can make your health a lifestyle and not a jump from fad diet to fad diet. Experts in the fields of biochemistry, chiropractic, physiology, women's health, and much more will weigh in on a range of topics, all designed to open your eyes, expand your knowledge, and bring you to new life. Now be sure to subscribe to Pursuit of New Life on all the podcast platforms, and also follow us on YouTube at newlifenaturopathic.com, and be joining us every Friday for Pursuit of New Life.
Oh yes, welcome in to another episode here on Pursuit of New Life. We're so glad that you've joined us, making our way through this holistic journey together. We've got the New Life team getting ready to come on, but I want to remind you that you should subscribe and share and all of that good stuff. All of the podcast platforms, share that with your friend, whichever one is your favorite, as well as finding us on YouTube, and that is at New Life Naturopathic on YouTube to find these weekly episodes of Pursuit of New Life. Also, don't forget that you can email our team your questions. That is one of the ways that we want you to interact and let us know what you have, what you want to know, what we've been talking about, or if you have a topic that you'd like for us to discuss. I get to play the part of the dumb listener very well because I don't know most of the time what we're talking about either until we start doing it. And I'm learning so much, and I hope that you are learning right along with me. So I'm going to bring in the team, and we are excited to see where this discussion is going to go. Now, this one, men, you're going to need to take notes. Women, this one, you'll know some of this stuff, but it's going to help you a lot. So we're looking forward to this one on women's health. There's Dr. Tindall. Here's Dr. Stuber. And we're going to get into a topic that, most of us are pretty confused anyways about women and what they want, but we're not going to get into that because we don't have time for that. But I'm ready to take notes, Dr. Stuber. All right. Well, all jokes aside, women's health, very, very important topic. And Dr. Tindall, I'd love for you to lead us off and discuss a little bit about, from your perspective of running a practice and what you've seen, and then we'll save the best for last and get Dr. Stuber in there on that as well.
Okay. Yeah. So actually, probably about, I'd say it's 60 to 65% of our practice is actually women's health issues. Women are smarter than men.
Proven.
And here's why. What we found over the years is that women run the household. And the problem that you have nowadays, especially modern women, you're running a household, trying to run a business, trying to do everything you can, and you got a lot of balls that you're juggling in the air. And so the problem that they deal with is if the wife of the house goes down, the whole house tends to go down because she's the one who's taking care of the kids, getting them off to work or school. She's trying to get herself off to work. If she's
in some cases off to work too, some of those, older kids that don't drive yet,
Yeah, get them off to work. So I guess you got some of those. Get them off to work, and then do the grocery shopping, do the house cleaning, do the laundry, take care of their husband. Men in reality have it kind of easy. We get up. Most of us go to work, come home, eat our dinner, and then that's kind of the decision making for the men for the day, where women have like a plethora of things that they have to do and manage and juggle. So the women start to realize that, wait a minute, I go down, the whole house goes down. So I have to take better care of myself and better health. And the other problem that you have, and Julie probably touch on this a lot more than I will, but because of that, women don't have a lot of pleasures in life. So they tend to look at food as one of their outlets for
as an
pleasure.
escape.
As an escape. Yeah. They want to go to their friends' house, their their expensive sugar laden coffees with their their muffins or cupcakes or that I'm saying, that fancy stuff. They'll spend $7 on the coffee and $5 on the cupcake, so they can sit around with their friends and have that enjoyment, that pleasure. So one of the difficult things that they deal with, and this is why we kind of put our website together and things like that, is one, we put together the shopping lists for them. We also put in the recipes for ladies and things like that, so it's easier for them to like, okay, here's what I'm gonna make healthy. I don't have to think about it. It's just, here's the stuff, boom, boom, boom. And we try to make their lives a little bit easier, giving them some guidance, some organization, some planning, things like that. So we're trying to, through our weight loss program, we're trying to teach them that, be healthy. And then the other thing, we try to have good, pleasurable meals, so they can try to have that pleasure of having that nice meal that tastes good, and not sitting there and go, oh man, I got to eat cottage cheese and salad to lose weight, and I got to do this, all this heinous things to myself to try to get to where I'm fit and healthy again.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Stuber, I guess it's time for you to chime in now. He's done piling on the men. It's your turn.
All right. Well, what I'd like to talk about today is obviously a little bit of what I've experienced in practice and also personally. So I'm going to start out with what I experienced in practice. What I've noticed over the years, I've treated more women than men, and the ratio, and children. The ratio is honestly about 90% women and children. And the biggest difference I notice between men and women is that men will come in with a condition and they will say, I have this, I have that, I have this, fix it. They want the problem solved. Women will come in and say, I feel. Well, I feel like this, or I feel like that. It's much less tangible because women tend to live in their emotions. And because you can't put your finger on them, it leads to frustration. It leads to chronic problems because emotions build up over time. And yes, women, for the most part, are taxed to the extreme. My mom used to say the woman's job is 24/7, 365. And that is true. Some of that's genetically how we're programmed, and some of that is just the American way. Like over time, women, and we've done it to ourselves. We wanted more, we do more, we want to be, quote, equal to men. And I will say one thing that comes, I think, over time is that you accept our differences, men and women, and how we complement each other. So I guess, too, the big issue with women's health is the changes we go through. Women change hormonally pretty much second by second. And then we go through the different phases of life where we dramatically change. Up until the age of puberty, which it used to be the average age was 12. Now it's lowered to about 10. We grow steadily. And then the whole body changes through puberty in the next 2 to 3 years. And at that time, we go through our monthly cycle, which really is a daily cycle because the hormones change. Then you enter childbearing years, and your physical body can, changes through that. Your hormones change, your needs change, your mentality changes. I don't know. I've never met a woman in my practice who has children that they can't look at their child and say, that's part of me. And now they've actually done scientific studies that show that your child's cells live inside of you for the rest of your life. So then we raise our children, and if anybody's out there ever had a newborn or a teenager, it is exhausting. It's worth it, but it's very exhausting, and it puts physical demands. A lot of women never even treat themselves nutritionally or physically. They've never allowed themselves to even recover from growing a life. So beyond that, we have menopause, that transition, which on average, transition lasts over 10 years. And postmenopausal, again, you can have menopausal symptoms well beyond cool menopause.
Mm.
And, as we get older, the health concerns of osteoporosis, cardiovascular disease, they're all things that need to be addressed. On average, women live 3 to 5 years longer than men. And
that's because they're smarter, as we've already had pointed out. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
They take better care of themselves.
yes, they do. They're serious to that. They think women live longer, partially because we bleed every month through those basically 40 years. So we rejuvenate new cells on a much more regular basis. So I guess, the focus on my practice is to help women understand what is going on with their bodies, what is going on with their children's bodies, young females in particular, but, young men too, because a lot of women don't have a clue. Once you begin to understand the changes in your body and you embrace them, you can do something about your symptoms. In the focus of practice, obviously people come here and they have something wrong. And again, women want to feel different. They want to feel better. So that is the focus of things. Also, education. So when you begin to educate women on the physical changes, what biochemically is happening during those changes, what hormone is happening, it makes more sense. You can know what to do, dietary changes, nutritionally, to support yourself, to make these transitions as easy as possible. One thing over time, 30 some years of women's health, I've noticed that the problems are becoming more severe and younger and younger. I see women, young ladies, having all sorts of menstrual troubles, headaches, skin problems. And again, anybody who has a young teenage woman, that they're concerned about how they look. So you have to transform that into what is on the inside is what controls how you look on the outside. And that's the major focus of the practice is, we educate women so they can make better choices, because prevention is the key. Right now, because I am a middle-aged woman, I notice that middle-aged women in practice come in and the common thread is they're exhausted. And basically because for the last 50 years, they haven't taken care of themselves. A lot of that, they didn't know what to do. I mean, Dr. Tindall, I think, can attest that over the last 30 plus years, we have a lot more research, we have a lot more knowledge, and therefore we can teach people and they can understand what they can do better.
Well, that was one of the questions I was going to ask is in the context of what we talk about on this podcast is talking about naturopathic services and natural supplements and natural remedies. So for women that are wanting to do better at taking care of themselves, what are some of the things they need to look for if they're looking for a practice like New Life Naturopathic that can help them maybe articulate better instead of coming in with the I feels like you mentioned? What are some things they can be looking for to be able to articulate better the direction they want to go and the lifestyle changes they want to make?
Well, the number one thing is to get off of Google, Dr. Google, as Dr. Tindall says, because that will just entrench you in your emotions. Seek help by a professional who can educate you. I tell women, if you don't see it and you don't understand it, do not believe it. I think I've said that before, because you don't have to own a condition. You don't have to live in your emotions until you set goals. You have understanding. You can set realistic goals to make the changes that you want and stay as healthy as you can throughout your entire life. Like anybody, I tell them, go out to Walmart and look around. You can tell the people that take care of themselves and do the best they can do versus the people who don't. And
well, people watching at Walmart's a fun game just by itself. I mean,
sure is, especially around midnight.
A big thing that a lot of, especially when you're talking about the younger girls and stuff that are having problems, we are seeing that, we're seeing girls that, I had a lady contact us the other day that her daughter's having problems. That she's 9 years old and starting to have her cycle. And I just about,
Wow.
fell out of my chair because when you look at the research, the sooner a girl has her period and starts cycling, the higher the risk that she has of certain types of cancers, breast cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, things like that. And, a big thing that drives these, because women are more hormonal than men. Men are, they're hormonal, but they don't go up and down, because I have to explain to a lot of women, like when we talk about like PCOS or thyroid problems or their cycle, why it's messed up, and you kind of explain how their hormones are going up here and they're follicle stimulating, luteinizing, progesterone, and this is this like a wavy sea of hormones that are going through that they're experiencing each month, and how like eating the wrong kind of foods, putting like bread, cake, cookies, pasta, sugar in, all that, when they start putting a lot of insulin in the system, which is another hormone your body makes, and a lot of nowadays you see just the diets, what these people are, people are raising, because back to the with women, they're trying to run the house, try to work, blah blah blah. So what happens is, it's kind of a saying I tell everybody, they're looking for these conveniences, the fast food restaurants, and they're out there, and the market knows that they're looking for this stuff. So that's why they market heavy to women, heavy to children, to get them onto these convenience things. The problem with convenience is it kills you nowadays.
Yeah.
It's just, we've said it before in several podcasts. I walk around the office and I tell people all the time, convenience kills. And everybody's like, what do you mean? I go, well, you sit at a desk all day, you don't move anymore. And then you get in your car and you drive to the fast food restaurant, or now you don't even have to drive. You get on the phone, drive home, DoorDash it to your house, and then you pay a ton of money, and then you're spending tons of money on that, tons of money in your health. And then you're tired, you're exhausted, because this is not food; it's just toxic wasted that you're putting in your body, destroying yourselves, destroying your hormones, destroying your body, and you're just they just kind of get that cycle of, I'm trying to, like you Julie said earlier, I'm just trying to survive. They're in survival mode. I'm trying to survive.
And now that survival mode is starting even earlier. You talked about young women and used the age of 9 as this example. There was a time when, that explanation of early start to a cycle or things like that for women's health, starting that early, they would say, well, it's the hormones in the meat. Well, what all really contributes to that? I mean, you mentioned some things just now that, there's a lot of, processed foods and things like that. Well, is it really, for lack of a better word, that simple that it's this diet that's causing this? Or are there other modern things that are changing the way that's happening?
Lots of modern stuff. And I'm going to kind of pull up a chart. It's called Harrower's chart. Dr. Harrower put this chart together, I believe in about 1920s, 1930s. But basically, this is what the relationship with the hormonal system. Okay. So we get a lot of people who kind of call, and I get people message us and call us and stuff and say, hey, do you guys treat thyroid problems? And I go, first of all, we have to figure out if it's a thyroid problem. And they're like, well, what do you mean? My doctor said it's a thyroid problem. I said, well, how did he do it? He just ran your TSH, right? They go, yeah. I said, did he run your T3, T4, reverse T3, thyroid antibodies, reverse T3, vitamin D, iron? And they're like, no. And I go, because they don't, and I'm not trying to be mean. They're just, doctors aren't educated on how to look at lab work and how to differentiate it out and put this stuff together. And that's because what happens is this: you have the hypothalamus over here, which tells your pituitary here, which tells your thyroid, and you get feedback mechanisms. So your hormones and your thyroid that you produce get actually converted by the liver. But if you're stressed over here, that changes how that thyroid puts the hormones out, plus how the liver converts. And if you're too stressed, it'll damage your cortisol will damage your hypothalamus and pituitary and your amygdala in your brain, which then throws off this hormonal system, which then throws off everything down here. And then you see how it gets complicated?
Well, so, yeah.
Really quick. I'm sorry to like kind of go over your head.
Well, and so what I would ask then with that, Dr. Tindall, is that was a very complicated chart for a lot of us. What would you say to simplify what you were just talking about? You know, a lot of people will walk around saying after that one test from a doctor and say, well, I've got thyroid problems, it's genetic or it's whatever. What would you say to kind of simplify everything you just said? I know, just like your question early when you were trying to figure out your health journey, you said something along the lines, tell me how to fix it and tell me in 5 minutes.
Yeah. It comes back to this and what Julie said earlier. Find people like us ourselves. We're not the only ones that do this, by the way. There's a lot of other doctors out there that do. We're trying to get the information out, and then, but find people who actually know what they're doing. That's what it comes down to. Because we get the story all the time with women. We get it with men a lot too, but we get with women. I went to my doctor. This is what's going on with me, and what happens is they don't. Again, they know drugs and surgery, so they're really good giving you a pill and giving you doing surgery if they need to do surgery. But when it actually comes to giving you health care, because if you're taking a drug, you're fundamentally not healthy. So to actually get you on the health care, I want to get you healthy. They just are not educated in that realm. We are. And so you want to find, practitioners like ourselves that kind of understand, like, if I was a woman, first thing I'd ask if I was calling doctor's office, do you have hair or worse chart, and do you understand it? And do you understand the blood testing and how to read, like, if my T4 is elevated, my T3 is low, then I may have a liver problem because I'm not doing conversion. I know it gets a little geeky, and I'm sorry that sometimes
and the liver, like the liver might as well. I made this joke with Karen. We just talked about this on her podcast, Return to New Life. She was talking about the importance of the liver. I said, so for all these years, we should have been saying, I love you with all my liver because of how important it is. and on that chart, it was probably the next biggest thing next to thyroid. So the importance of even knowing that simply changes your perspective of what questions you ask.
Yeah. And so that's when we, earlier you said, like, how we take that emotional aspect, and we have a lot of paperwork, a lot of forms and symptom surveys that help us to try to take all this, manage all these symptoms that everybody's having and trying to get them kind of categorized into what may be going on. So it gives us some kind of a roadmap and questions to ask so we can delve into to figure out what's kind of going on with them. And then what we try to do with them is, again, we address it. We address the whole body. So we always talk about diet, because you can't supplement away a bad diet. We talk about, like, proper supplementation, nutrition, stress management.
Yeah. Lots
of different things that we factor in. And then we have, if there's some significant mental health issues that we also work with, we just met a new therapist. we're going to talk to her about bringing her in and doing some work referring to her also. But we have a counselor that we do with women and men too, but mainly women, to help them, manage stress and manage these things. But you want to have someone that's kind of that's going to listen to you, going to take what you have and not just like, let's brush you off, but actually wants to sit there and dig in to what's going on with you. And these cases are complicated, and Julie knows it's like, because once you get through one layer of, like, what's going on with them, then something else comes out, and a lot of it, they actually start feeling comfortable and confident in you. And then they really start to actually tell you what's going on.
And then they really open up, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned supplements just a moment ago, and we spent last week talking about that. Dr. Stuber, what would be maybe the difference? Is there a difference, I guess, in the way that you approach supplements for a woman as opposed to a man when you take into consideration some of the things we've been talking about today?
Well, because women's bodies fundamentally work different than men's, you have to address those organs. And the endocrine system, which Dr. Tindall showed on Harrow's chart, is complicated and is different for women than men. So
all those lines on that chart are different for a woman, and they're all squiggly and crosses. And
so everything needs to be in balance, and based on the age of the woman, based on if it's a woman during childbearing years, based on their cycle, different things have to be addressed. So
the factors are different, especially, we obviously know men and women are different, but so the factors that you take into consideration when you're trying to dissect the emotion and everything else that comes with figuring this thing out, those factors are a little different when it comes down to addressing supplements.
Yes, nutritionally, women have different needs than men. The simplest one is obviously women bleed every month. So with that loss of blood, it needs to be checked. Are the blood levels normal? And there's a lot of different nutritional needs for that. I mean, your liver's involved, B vitamins are involved.
Iron.
Again, we have the female hormones involved. So it's complex, but there are definitely specific things that I look for. I mean, what I do, what Dr. Tindall does, I do more of the women's health, is what a woman is feeling and what she's experiencing. Like, we have to transfer, or that's probably not the right word, but we have to take what a woman feels and turn it into what is actually happening. And that's
interpret.
Yes, that's the word.
Yeah.
And again, communicate and educate so that you can understand. What's one thing about women too is women do talk. We talk about what's going on. We share with other women. So, I encourage women to make sure you understand so you can share it. Rather than talking about everything that's wrong, let's try to change things and make them better. But specifically during pregnancy and during menopause, to me, are two critical times because your body changes so tremendously. Like, personally, I had a wonderful pregnancy. I felt absolutely fantastic. No morning sickness. I felt great.
There's a whole bunch of women right now saying, what?
Exactly. Exactly. Now, menopause was exactly the opposite. I had a really, really hard time. Now, through my experiences, I feel like I have an insight. With Dr. Tindall's help, I have learned so much. Like, we're constantly learning new things. There's more evidence. There's more tests. There's just more perceptive. And when you live through something, it's much easier to relate. Part of why I do women's health is because how can Dr. Tindall understand what a menstrual cramp feels like? How can he understand what childbirth is or a hot flash? You just can't. He just can't.
Yeah.
So,
Nor do I want to.
I trust me. I'm good.
I see the misery that women go through.
Well, and I've seen those guys that attach all the electrodes and like, I want to feel it. No, I'm good.
I tell women, I'm like, women live in it and men live with it. So everybody's life gets better when women are doing better. And, 99 point, God knows, maybe 9% of women do not understand how great they can feel. And again, I'm going to use the analogy of when you're sick with the flu. That very first day that you wake up and you're like, I'm not sick anymore, how great you feel. The transformation that can be made with simple, adequate nutrition and getting the body balanced is fantastic. I mean, when everything should be a gradual transition. And women that are unhealthy don't have that. They just kind of go up and go down and go up and go down. And again, when you live with a woman, women will tell you that, oh my gosh, I'm just all over the place. Men or families that live with that, they know, like, oh my gosh, what day is it? Is it Jebel or is it high? What monster is coming out today? And it's a terrible way to live. It really is. So like you said, I've just been through so much, and we target different areas because, again, women are anatomically fundamentally different than men.
Yeah. So we're running out of time for this episode. I know next week we're going to be talking about some DNA testing and things, and I'm sure that that's even different for women than it is for men. As we're discovering through these now 12 weeks of this, the biggest thing that I kind of take away pretty much every episode, we come down to talking about balance like you just did, Dr. Stuber. So Dr. Tindall, in this last minute, what would you want to say at the end of this on women's health and what the balance that should be searched for these women that are saying, yeah, I get what you're saying today. I want to know more on how I can feel better. I want to know more about how I can make these lifestyle changes.
Yeah, the biggest thing that, as we deal with their women's health issues and stuff is find that balance in their life of like, again, back to like food, nutrition, stress management, all those things. And, we're here to help you find that balance and help you get to that point. The biggest thing that resistance that we have is, and you have to be fundamentally want to do this. I want to take control of my life. I want to be healthy. I want to do these things. And if you do that and you will follow the recommendations that we have for you, sky's the limit for you. Biggest resistance we get, and like anything, and men also, but it's back. The hardest one is the dietary thing. But because everybody's used to taking pills, but if you can get that, and again, that's why we do our weight loss program. It's an eating healthy program, really. Eat healthy food, healthy body, healthy weight. If you're willing to do those things and take control of your life and make those decisions, I want to be healthy. These are the things. I don't want to live this way. I don't want to live in misery, and realize that you don't actually have to. Then with time and some work, a lot of times we get you there.
Yeah. Well, new-lifeweightloss.com is the site that he was just talking about. That is, that healthy lifestyle site that'll get you on track. It's a great one to check out. Make sure you're doing that. Also, again, as we've mentioned, email your questions for our team. That is contact newlifenaturopathic@gmail.com. And we would encourage you to check us out on the YouTube channel, New Life Naturopathic, as well as downloading the podcast on whatever your podcast platform is and sharing it with your friends. You know that if you're having the questions, that some of your friends are as well. And I'm glad we were able to dive into this today. I know that we're probably just scratching the surface when it comes to women's health or anything when you're talking about the differences between men and women, and even person to person. Something else we've talked about a lot on this podcast is an individualized approach, and that's what naturopathic does much better than the other healthcare system out there that tries to say they're the mainstream. So make sure you're checking into your options in your area, or as we've shown, newlifenaturopathic.com. They can help you from wherever you are. So make sure you're checking out that as well. Well, return Pursuit of New Life team. I know I just did episodes with Karen the other day, but she's part of this team too. Return to New Life is a good podcast as well. But the Pursuit of New Life team will be back again next week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time here on Pursuit of New Life.
Thanks.
Thanks, Betsy.